It's always fun when Parliament sits, isn't it? It was another sitting week this week. Lots of focus on the ISIS brides story. In case you don't know much about that story, like I happily didn't a week ago, here's the brief backstory. In early 2019, in the Syrian war, the Islamic State group, ISIS, had its last stand in a place called Baghouz. There were a bunch of Australian citizen men and women associated with Islamic State who were captured and detained. Some of these Australian women had children that they brought with them to Syria. Some had children with Australian fighters while they were there. Some had children with foreign fighters while they were there. Some of the Australian men fighting had kids with women who were Syrian or from other foreign countries. It's quite a mess. In any case, this is not a group of people that we should probably have much sympathy for whatsoever. Can you really be a true Australian if you're fighting with a terrorist organisation like ISIS or sleeping with people who are? But anyway, this is 2025 and obvious common sense now takes a back seat to bureaucratic processes and rules. Now, this particular group in question, we don't know how many, but we know it was at least 2 women and 4 children, reportedly had paid people smugglers to get out of Syria to the Lebanese border, but they were denied entry to Lebanon once they got there. They claimed to be Australian, so the Australian authorities got involved. They undertook the DNA testing, they undertook ID checks, they decided that they were in fact Australian, and they issued them new passports. Now, on September the 2nd, this story broke in the Australian newspaper with reports that the government had facilitated their return home by issuing the passports and maybe arranging flights. It's also not clear if the Australian authorities issued all or some of the children citizenship by descent to help them get passports too. The Prime Minister was asked about all this in Parliament on September the 3rd, the day after the Australian news story came out. And he said then that the report simply wasn't accurate. Well, this Monday in Parliament, he went further and denied that the government was involved in flying this group back to Australia. And he said Australian citizens have a right to enter Australia, true, but that Australia did not provide assistance to this group. Now, all this was the focus of a very frustrating questioning exchange on Tuesday in a Senate committee hearing between the Liberals leader of the opposition in the Senate, Michaelia Cash, and Senator James Paterson, the Liberal Party's Shadow Minister for Finance and Government Services. They were both interrogating Labor government's Foreign Affairs Minister, Penny Wong. The exchange seemed to leave Senator Wong looking very unprepared and struggling to find the right words.
How was the Prime Minister able to say in the House of Representatives on Wednesday the 3rd of September that those reports were not accurate if he had not been briefed on the matter?
Okay,
It's a very good question.
I understand your discomfort.
No, it's not. I think it's just a sort of a clever way of asking the same question.
Thank you,
That's
Senator
all.
Wong. It's very kind, but I'd rather
Well, I wasn't actually
Clever and a catch
clever. Clever can be both ways, but I take it positively. I'm fine with that. But
Yeah, or you could just have some respect for the Australian people and get to the point of the matter and answer the question instead of hiding behind process. The rest of Senator Wong's answer has no substance. It's all about process. And to be fair, she does have the right to take questions on notice and come back later, so technically that is allowed. Whether it's a good thing is another story. Senator Paterson pressed on regardless.
The government has said that they have not provided assistance to returning ISIS brides. How does the government define assistance?
Repatriation assistance.
Okay. So does providing an Australian who has applied for citizenship by descent overseas through the Department of Home Affairs constitute assistance in your view?
It's not a question of what my view is.
Well, in the government's view? Does that constitute assistance?
That is a matter for Home Affairs.
No, it's not. The Prime Minister has said
sorry,
the government
can
did
I
not provide
finish?
assistance. Yeah.
I hadn't answered. If you want to ask me a question, let me answer. You can follow up.
How about we both do a deal with each other? I won't interrupt you if you don't interrupt me.
That is a matter for Home Affairs. They administer the Citizenship Act.
So Senator Wong is trying to say that she and the Prime Minister aren't responsible here. It's up to the Home Affairs Department. But Senator Patterson wasn't having a bar of it.
Except the Prime Minister has said the government did not provide assistance. And it is well established in this forum that we can ask questions about statements made by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has said the government did not provide assistance. Does the Prime Minister consider providing citizenship by descent to be assistance?
The government the government has been clear that we are not providing assistance to repatriate, and there is no plan to repatriate these individuals. Public servants, officials, acting in accordance with their obligations, I think is a separate matter.
Computer says no. There it is again, the bureaucrat's response, hiding behind process. Good process is important, yes, but it's secondary to common sense and truth. The left and bureaucrats, the managerial class of the public service, always put process and rules first and common sense second. It's supposed to be the other way around. And that's when things fall apart when you do that. Also, politicians are supposed to be the voice of the people, keeping the bureaucrats in Canberra and all their rules and regulations in check. They're not supposed to become the bureaucrats. But I guess when most of them have never had a real job, what do you expect is going to happen? Anyway, Penny Wong was still having trouble understanding simple, straightforward questions.
So does the Prime Minister or the government consider providing a passport to someone overseas to constitute assistance?
I'm sorry?
Does the government consider providing a passport to someone overseas to be assistance?
Again, that's a matter for DFAT.
No, I'm asking you about the Prime Minister and the government's view. He's made statements on the public record that the government has not provided assistance. I'm trying to determine what he believes assistance constitutes, and does that include providing a passport?
Yeah, there have been previous occasions where assistance was provided to repatriate Australian women and children from Syrian IDP camps. And I think they have been made public. They involved extensive planning, assistance from a number of Australian agencies, international partners, flights, etc. We are not providing such assistance.
Now, I shortened Penny Wong's response there by 13 seconds for brevity, which actually made her look better, not worse, just to be clear. The Coalition says the lack of details coming from the government side is akin to a cover-up. Senior bureaucrats from the Prime Minister's Department told Senator Michaelia Cash earlier that they couldn't reveal how many wives and children had reached Australia because of privacy concerns. Senator Cash said the refusal to give even the most basic information to the Australian public was completely unacceptable and smelled of a cover-up. Senator Patterson himself told Radio 3AW in Melbourne later that it demonstrates complete contempt for the Australian people. We saw Australian citizens being denied entry to their own country during the COVID pandemic at the hands of a coalition government, I might add, utterly disgraceful. And I don't care if you've got to set up a camp in the middle of the Northern Territory to quarantine people if there actually is a real threat with the virus, but you don't get to deny any Aussie passport holders entry to Australia unless you have a very good reason not to, like maybe if they're terrorists and they've been fighting with a massive foreign terrorist organisation, then it would be a good idea. Do you see what I mean about common sense seeming to take a back seat in Canberra to bureaucracy and red tape? There is a thing called a temporary exclusion order, which the Minister for Home Affairs can use to stop a citizen from returning home if they have associated with a terrorist organisation while offshore. The law already exists. So the question is this: why didn't Labor's Immigration Minister, Tony Burke, use that power? He really seems to be a bloke who bends over backwards to keep speakers out of Australia who might say hurty words that aren't left-wing enough for him. But he's very happy to have terrorists here. SmartKits Australia is a leading supplier of prefabricated home improvement kits, so you can do it yourself, save money and hassle. SmartKits Australia is the easiest way to improve your home and build memories that last forever. Buy online, customize your way, get it built. That's the SmartKits way. Decks, patios, pergolas, flyover roofs, carports, and insulated roofing, all prefabricated, fully engineered, and delivered anywhere in Australia. You can choose from hundreds of pre-designed SmartKits on their website, or you can go custom with SmartKits' in-house design team. Every kit is engineered tough, packed smart, and delivered free anywhere in Australia. And don't worry if you're not so handy. If you need it installed, they can do that too. Their licensed builder network can get you started even faster. It's up to you. So save thousands on your own 100% Australian-made smart kit. Build your own outdoor lifestyles with SmartKits Australia. SmartKits.com.au, a proud sponsor of The Other Side. That was a segment clip from our weekly Friday night news show, The Other Side, which you can watch in full by simply going to YouTube and searching up The Other Side Australia. Then you'll find our full shows playlist. You can also find all of our full shows and our segments on our own website, othersidetv.com.au. That's othersidetv.com.au. Help us build a whole new Aussie media by joining us over there and signing up for the exclusive side.